for Veterans Day. Joining me is Sergeant Nick Wilson of the Marine Corps. Mr. Wilson, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy you could be here with us. Normally we have our assembly in the auditorium where students would be cheering and thanking you. It's such a great atmosphere at our school, but we wanted to continue the tradition of honoring veterans at our school. I understand that you served overseas. Do you want to share with us your experience?
Sure. So I did 2 tours to Afghanistan overseas, both in the Helmand province, and then I did 2 other training evolutions, one in India and then one in the Republic of Georgia.
And what
Uh,
kind of experiences did you have?
I am Well, my job in the military was infantry. Another designation for it would be an 0311. There's 0331s, 41s. Those are machine gunners, mortarmen, stuff like that. I was just your regular, I guess, ground pounder, rifleman kind of a guy. So just a lot of foot patrols, really trying to build up a rapport, I guess you could say, with the local populace, just so that way they would help us kind of root out the Taliban that were kind of oppressing the people.
Okay, and how would you say that mission went?
My first mission was, or I guess my first deployment was, I believe, a good success. We had been in this valley, Nowzad, for quite some time. The British were actually there before us, and our captain, he was a part of that British unit that was there. So it was his time returning back to the valley. We had cleared a town. It was a ghost town, you could say, of up to about population size of 20,000, but the Taliban had pushed them out. And so we had gone through, pretty much cleared IEDs, gone and pushed the Taliban further up north, so that way the locals could move back in, they could reestablish their government, and really start to get back on their feet. That went well for about, I believe, I think it was about 5 years ago is when the Taliban actually took it back over, and that was when we completely had relinquished, or I guess released, our grip on it back to the local, like, ANA, which are the Afghan National Army, or the ANP, the Afghan National Police. So I mean, initially it went very well, just without that current presence, and I don't believe the local military force or police force was adequately, or I guess was ready yet. So it just kind of fell back. The second mission that I had was a little bit further north, in the valley of, or in Sangin is what it was called, and both of these zones at the time were like really kinetic, you could say, which means there was a lot of gunfights and things like that.
Wow.
My first one was a lot of IDF, which is just indirect fire, mortars, things of that nature. My second one was a lot more close and personal, just because of the area we were in. It was they were like small farm fields, and they were separated by canals of water, and that's how they irrigated their fields. These fields, when we went there at the time, were full of poppy, and poppy, if you know, is the pretty much heroin is what they make out of it. This is where the majority of the world's heroin comes from, is from Afghanistan, and it's a major source of income for them. The farmers, they can't really stop doing it for fear of Taliban reaction, but the money that it brings in is a lot better for them. So we couldn't really just go in and burn the fields, or else you're gonna have like an uprising. But so our goal was to kind of protect this highway that was being built at the time, and also to put in a blocking position for other units that were further north in Sangin, just because a lot of ammunitions trafficked through that area. So it went well. I mean, obviously it disrupted them quite a bit.
So you were preventing them from getting armed. Is
Yeah,
what we can understand from that. That's
yeah.
you certainly fit the definition of putting yourself in harm's way. Thank you so much for. Has this affected you in any way, personally, like your physical health or anything?
Yes, it has some of the most difficult, I guess, most problematic things that I have with my body would be probably my hips and my back. Um, Primarily just because of the gear that we would have to carry, like a full combat load, which comprised of 6 magazines of around 28 rounds each, probably grenades, depending on what weapon system you had. You would have upwards of 180 to 1,000 rounds of ammo. Um, this was common. This was, I mean, you would train with these loads, you would fight in these loads, and then if you were moving or had to resupply an OP, which is an observation post, you would have water, food, batteries, you know, any kind of like mail packages or something that they may need or that they have gotten would take to them. And sometimes packs could weigh, over 200 pounds.
Wow, that's
There were times that I couldn't get up with the pack that I had without help from others. My hips and my back were the worst, probably.
Oh. I want you to know that we here thank you so much, and we wish you a full and speedy recovery. Was there a message that you wanted to give to the students and staff here at Independence Middle?
Yeah, definitely. What I would say is that, throughout your life, if you're going to do something, do it 100%. Don't do it half of it because there's no point. It's going to be school or going to the military or you would be a professional sports player. It's not always about talent. People see how hard people work at it and what they're willing to sacrifice for it. So just whatever you're gonna do, put forth 100% because you only got one life, and sometimes it can be a lot shorter than you expect.
That's so true. That's such a great message. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for sharing your story.
All right. Well, thanks, Michael. I appreciate you for having me.